So although Bentham's formulation of the utilitarian principle is not always completely clear about how it's not the same thing as an egoistic view, there is a difference. Let me try to explain how that's so. In philosophy, the philosophical egoism is a little bit different from the way the word egoistic is normally used in everyday English. The philosophical egoist is a person who takes an ethical theory, an ethical position according to which the right action is that action that maximizes the overall amount of happiness for himself, as opposed to others. Others matter only insofar as their happiness has a crucial difference for myself. Now, by contrast, utilitarianism is strictly speaking impartial as to how the pleasure, happiness, or whatever is distributed. What matters is that the overall lump sum of happiness is maximized, regardless of whether it's mine or someone else's. So to explain how these two different theories have different implications, imagine that I'm going to a party of people that I don't know very well, but I thought it'd be polite, so I've decided to bring some brownies with me as a contribution to the festivities. So I've got a plate of 10. I'm driving up to the front of the party, and I've got this plate of 10 brownies in front of me, and I like brownies a lot. Now, let's suppose that if I were to distribute the brownies among people in the party, myself and nine other people, each of us would get, well, I like brownies a lot, as I said, but I might only get one utile of happiness, so to speak, and suppose everybody else gets 2. So then, if I were to distribute them to myself and my friends, or these people at the party, we'd get a total of 19 utiles. On the other hand, if I were to I'm sitting in my car getting ready to get out, and those brownies are looking pretty good, if I were to just gobble them all up right now, and then when I show up at the party, act like I had never intended to bring anything at all, maybe I could pull a bottle of wine out from the back seat or something. It would have its cork in it for sure. It would not be open yet, I'd swear. Then I would get, let's suppose I continue to get 1 utile out of every brownie that I eat for all 10, then I would produce 10 utiles by sitting there in my car eating all 10 brownies. Now the people at the party wouldn't get any of those. They would hopefully get some happiness from something else. But as an egoist, the right thing to do would still be for me to sit here and devour all 10 of the brownies instead of sharing them with these people at the party. Because I'd produce 10 utiles for myself, whereas if I went to the party and distributed them among these other people, I'd produce only 1 for myself. Whereas if I'm a utilitarian, the thing to do is to bring them to the party, take 1 for myself and distribute the remaining 9 for a total of 19 utiles. So notice that on relatively uncontroversial assumptions about how much utility will be produced by different distributions of goods, the egoist is going to say, keep the brownies for yourself and eat them all, whereas the utilitarian is going to say something different. Now, notice also that the utilitarian theory is going to be a normative theory. It's not necessarily going to predict how people will in fact act. It's going to say, this is an answer to the question what I should do. It's no objection to the utilitarian theory to say, well, in fact, people do not maximize the overall happiness for society at large, broadly construed, objectively considered. What they do is they look out for number 1 primarily and in general and with few exceptions. Now that may be true. We'll come back pretty soon to explain how that's relevant to the utilitarian theory in a little bit more detail. But right now, notice that it's no objection to an ethical theory to say people don't behave that way in which you're prescribing that they should behave, because the ethical theorist is saying, here's an answer to the question what I should do, not necessarily an answer to the question what I will do. So as long as we're clear on what question the philosophical theory is answering, then we'll see that the fact that people are not always utilitarians is no objection to the utilitarian theory. So it's no objection to the utilitarianism to say that it's being idealistic. Notice also that we've discussed in the context of our discussion of Pascal's wager the ASO method for determining what action is the most rational action for me to perform. That ASO algorithm for maximizing subjective expected utility is self-neutral as between egoism and utilitarianism. It doesn't tell you which one of those two is the correct ethical theory to follow. Because all ASO says is when deciding how to fill in the outcome boxes in your decision matrix, you decide how much utility is produced by various outcomes relative to various possible states of the world. And then how much utility is produced will depend upon, in your view, whether or not you're an egoist or a utilitarian. If you're one or the other, that will help you decide how to fill out those boxes. Otherwise, you won't have much way of doing so. Both egoism and utilitarianism, that is, may be seen as elucidating the act-state-outcome method, the act-state-outcome approach, with a particular view of the relationship between morality and prudence. Neither one of those two theories decides whether we have to formulate the ASO theory in one way or the other. The ASO theory is neutral as between them.